The moment I became currency. The night I learned my husband sold me. I didn't cry. I stood in the living room barefoot, the hardwood cold under my feet, reading a contract that listed my name the way one might list a vehicle or a piece of land. Terms, conditions, duration. 6 months. My husband, Marcus, hovered behind me, pale and shaking, smelling faintly of stale liquor and desperation. I didn't have a choice, he whispered. I turned slowly. That's funny, I said, my voice steady in a way that scared even me, because no one asked me. The man across from us, Adrian, watched in silence. He didn't interrupt. He didn't rush me. He let the realization hollow me out in real time. When I finally looked at him, my chest tightened. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't enjoying this. That somehow made it worse. You're calm, I said accusingly. I'm controlled, he replied. There's a difference. Marcus reached for me then, instinctively, desperately. Adrian spoke without raising his voice. Don't touch her. Marcus froze. Something in Adrian's tone, final, absolute, made my skin prickle. That was the moment I understood. I had not been sold to a monster. I had been sold to a man who knew exactly how much power he held and intended to use it carefully. 2. The house without bars. Adrian's house didn't feel like a prison. No locks, no guards, no threats, just space. Glass walls that reflected me back at myself. Long corridors that echoed when I walked them alone. Silence that pressed against my ribs until my breathing felt too loud. He gave me rules the first night. You don't enter my room. I don't enter yours. You eat when you want. You don't leave the property. And if I break a rule, I asked. He met my gaze steadily. Then we renegotiate. That word unsettled me more than punishment would have. Renegotiate meant agency. It meant choice, even inside a cage. Days passed, then weeks. Adrian watched me constantly, but never openly. I'd feel him before I saw him, in reflections, in the stillness of a room that hadn't been empty after all. He never commented on my body, never looked at me like a man starved, which was exactly why my body began to ache. 3. Want without permission. The first time I noticed it, I hated myself. I was in the kitchen pouring coffee when I felt it, that awareness crawling up my spine. I looked up and saw him across the room, jacket off, sleeves rolled, leaning against the counter as if he'd been there a while. Watching, not hungrily, intently. My breath stuttered. He didn't move, didn't speak, just let the silence stretch until it became unbearable. You're doing this on purpose, I accused. Yes, he said calmly. Why? Because you're still confusing fear with desire, he replied. I'm giving you time to learn the difference. That night, I lay awake, my body buzzing, my thoughts spiraling. I wanted him to touch me. I wanted him to tell me what to do. The realization terrified me. 4. The breaking point. It happened on a quiet night. No storm, no argument. Just me standing in his doorway, pulse racing, skin too tight. I can't breathe like this anymore, I said. He didn't look surprised. Say what you want, he said gently. I swallowed hard. I want you to stop pretending. You don't know what this is doing to me. He stood slowly, every movement deliberate. You want me to take responsibility for your desire? He said. Yes. A pause. Then softly, come here. The word hit like a strike. I crossed the space between us on shaking legs. He didn't touch me right away. He lifted my chin, forcing me to meet his eyes. You are choosing this, he said. Yes. Say it again. Yes. That was permission. V. Their first time. Worship, control, heat. He undressed me like it was a ritual, slowly, as if every inch of me was something to be studied, appreciated, memorized. His hands didn't rush. They traced, lingered, learned. You've been ignored for too long, he murmured. I won't make that mistake. The way he looked at me, like I was rare, like I was precious, made my throat ache. He kissed me everywhere except where I wanted it most: my shoulders, my wrists, the hollow of my throat. Each kiss a promise deferred. I trembled under his attention. Still choosing this? He asked. Yes, I breathed. He smiled then, not kind, satisfied. The night stretched, unhurried, deliberate. He worshipped me with patience, with devotion, with a reverence that made the final release feel overwhelming, like giving in to gravity after resisting it for weeks. When I finally broke, it was quiet, complete. He held me afterward, unmovable, as if anchoring me to the world again. I slept in his arms. 6. No mercy. The next morning, Marcus was waiting. Adrian made me watch. Marcus begged, promised, cried. Adrian listened politely. Then he ended Marcus's life, financially, socially, completely. Every debt called in, every favor revoked, every door closed. Marcus would live, but he would never recover. As Marcus was dragged away, Adrian turned to me. He doesn't get forgiveness, he said. He gets consequences. Something dark and relieved unfurled in my chest. 7. Aftermath is a language. I woke up, still wrapped in him, not tangled, not clinging, held. Adrian slept on his back, one arm heavy across my waist, anchoring me there like I might float away if he let go. Morning light spilled across his chest, catching on the sharp planes of his face. Softer in sleep, almost human in a way that unsettled me. I lay still, afraid to move. Not because I was afraid of him, because I was afraid of what would happen when this ended. The night before hadn't been frantic. It hadn't been desperate. It had been slow, consuming. Every moment stretched until sensation replaced thought. He had treated my body like something sacred, something worth taking time with. Like worship wasn't metaphor, but method. No one had ever looked at me the way he had. Not even my husband. Especially not my husband. I shifted slightly, testing whether the world would break. Adrian's eyes opened instantly, alert, focused, present. You're awake? He said quietly. Yes. His hand tightened at my waist, not possessive, reassuring. Regrets? He asked. I searched myself for them. There were none. No, I said. A pause. Then his thumb brushed slowly along my side, grounding me in the present. Good, he said, because I don't repeat mistakes. 8. The shape of possession. The days after were different, not lighter, heavier. Adrian didn't crowd me. He didn't demand my time or my attention. He didn't pretend the night before hadn't changed everything. He assumed it had. That confidence wrapped around me tighter than his arms ever had. When we passed each other in the house, his hand would brush my lower back, not lingering, not groping. Just enough to remind me he knew exactly where I was. When he spoke to me, it was quieter, more intimate. When he looked at me, it was like he was seeing something already his, but waiting for me to say it out loud. "You're walking differently," he observed one afternoon. I stiffened. "How?" "Like you expect to be caught if you fall." My breath hitched. "I did catch you," he added. That was the problem. I was beginning to lean. T? 9. Hunger evolves. I thought the wanting would ease after the first time. It didn't. It sharpened. The anticipation became worse because now I knew exactly what he was capable of and exactly how patient he could be. He made me wait. Days passed with nothing but looks, small touches, commands disguised as suggestions. Stay here. Come closer. Don't move. Each one settled deeper in my bones. One night, I snapped. "You're doing this on purpose," I said, standing too close, heat buzzing under my skin. "Yes," he replied, calmly. "Why?" He stepped into my space then, forcing my back against the wall without touching me. "Because I want you to want me," he said, voice low. "Not the release, not the escape." My breath shook. "Say it," he prompted. "I want you." His eyes darkened, not with hunger, with satisfaction. X. Worship. Rewritten. When he touched me again, it wasn't rushed. It was intentional. Adrian took his time, undressing me slowly, like he was unwrapping something precious rather than stripping it bare. His hands traced familiar paths, but lingered longer now, learning me in a deeper way. "You tense when you expect to be dismissed," he murmured, thumbs easing the tension from my shoulders. "You don't have to brace here." I swallowed hard. Every kiss was deliberate, devotional. He worshipped me like he was rewriting every memory my body held, teaching me that attention didn't have to be begged for. That pleasure could be given. When he finally brought me apart again, it was slower, deeper, like he wanted me to feel every second of it, every inch of sensation stretching and cresting until I couldn't tell where I ended. And he began. Afterward, he didn't let me curl inward. He pulled me into him, firm and steady. "You don't disappear here," he said. "You stay." I believed him. 11th. The ghost of Marcus. Marcus tried to contact me. Adrian told me before I found out. "He sent messages," he said over dinner. "I didn't stop them." My stomach tightened. "Why?" "Because you don't need protection from a man who no longer exists," he said calmly. "You need closure." I didn't respond. Later that night, I read the messages. Apologies, excuses, promises. They meant nothing. Marcus had sold me thinking I was expendable. He'd been wrong, and the punishment Adrian had chosen was worse than death. Marcus was alive, ruined, isolated, stripped of everything that made him feel powerful. That knowledge didn't horrify me. It soothed me. 12. The dangerous truth. The truth hit me slowly, like all dangerous things do. I wasn't staying because I had to. I was staying because I wanted the way Adrian looked at me, like I was something he would burn the world down to keep. I was staying because the man who had bought me never once treated me like property. He treated me like choice. One night, as I lay against his chest, I whispered the question that had been circling my thoughts for days. What happens when the 6 months are over? His body went still. Then he tilted my chin up, forcing me to meet his eyes. That depends, he said quietly, on whether you realize something before then. What? That I stopped counting months the night you walked into my doorway. My breath caught, and for the first time since this began, fear curled in my chest, not of him, but of how badly I wanted him to never let me go. 13. When the power shifts. I didn't realize when it happened. There was no announcement, no dramatic moment where the air changed, just a quiet morning where I woke up in Adrian's bed, alone, and didn't feel abandoned. I felt trusted. I dressed without asking, walked the house without waiting for his presence to ground me. I poured coffee and stood at the window, watching the city wake beneath a pale sky. I belonged here. Not because he owned me, because I had chosen to stay long enough that the choice became habit. Adrian found me like that, barefoot, wrapped in one of his shirts, sunlight catching on my skin. You look settled, he observed. I am, I replied. Something unreadable crossed his face. Not fear, not doubt. Recognition. That was when I understood the truth that had been creeping up on both of us. He had brought me here to contain me, and instead, I had rooted. 14. The question that changes everything. It was my turn to ask. What happens if I leave? I said one evening, my head resting against his chest, his heartbeat steady beneath my ear. He didn't answer immediately. If you leave, he said, finally, I don't follow. I lifted my head. Why? Because anything that requires pursuit stops being a choice. That should have comforted me. Instead, it terrified me. And if I stay? His arm tightened slightly around me. Then I stop pretending this is temporary. Silence pressed in. I felt the weight of it then. The truth of what we were building. Not romance, not rescue. Something darker, something deliberate. I don't want to be kept, I said quietly. He tilted my chin up, forcing me to look at him. Then don't be, he replied. Stand beside me. The shift was subtle, irreversible. 15. Worship claimed back. That night, I went to him first. No hesitation, no fear. I didn't knock. Adrian looked up from where he stood by the window, surprise flickering briefly across his face before control slid back into place. Are you sure? He asked. I crossed the room and placed my hands on his chest, feeling the steady strength beneath my palms. I'm not asking, I said. I'm choosing. Something in him broke open. The way he touched me that night was different. Not cautious, not instructional, reverent. He treated my body like a promise he intended to keep. Every movement slow, consuming, unhurried. He learned me again, as if the first time had only been an introduction. You don't belong beneath me, he murmured against my skin. You belong with me. I came apart under his attention, quietly, completely, held together by hands that knew exactly how much pressure I could take before I shattered. After, he stayed still, arms locked around me, as if daring the world to try to take me back. 16. The end of Marcus. Marcus's final mistake was thinking I'd want to see him. Adrian asked me once, carefully, do you want to be there? I considered it. Then I shook my head. No, he doesn't deserve my presence. So Adrian handled it without me. No violence, no blood, just precision. Marcus lost the last of his money, then his job, then his reputation. The story spread quietly: gambling, desperation, betrayal, the kind of rumors that stick. By the time it was done, Marcus was alive, in the most meaningless sense of the word. Adrian told me over dinner, his voice even. He asked about you, he said. I told him you were unavailable. I didn't ask what Marcus said. He no longer existed in any way that mattered. 17th, the contract burned. On the final night of the 6 months, Adrian brought out the original contract. He placed it between us on the table. Time's up, he said. I stared at the paper, the document that had turned me into currency, that had destroyed one life and rebuilt another. What happens now? I asked. He slid a lighter across the table. You decide. I picked it up. The flame caught easily. The paper curled and blackened, smoke twisting into the air like something being exorcised. Adrian watched me burn it without a word. When it was ash, he stood and offered me his hand. Not commanding, inviting. I took it. 18. The ending. That isn't one. I didn't leave, but I wasn't trapped. I stayed because the man who bought me never once treated me like property, and because the man I became in his presence was stronger, darker, and far more honest than the woman I'd been before. I learned something important in that house of glass and silence. Freedom doesn't always mean escape. Sometimes it means choosing the fire that knows your name. And the most dangerous truth of all, I wanted more.